4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. On behalf of Rabbi Courant, who's touring in Europe right now, our shul president, Jeff Shaves, our office manager, Sarah Senior, our event co-chairs, Nancy Corey and Dora Usher, Rafi Remez on tech support, Cantor Jeremy in the back there, thank you very much, also tech support. Charlie, our videographer, also our board and congregants. Welcome to the Lodzer Centre's Congregation music series called Sundays at 7. Welcome. I am Cantor Marcel Cohen, the MC, not just because my initials are, for this evening. We would like to thank, especially the Government of Canada, for subsidizing this entire program. Let's hear for Canada. Thank you. This, tonight, is the second of 10 presentations that we are holding. And we handed out a questionnaire to get your feedback how to improve for our next presentations. We're always looking to get better. Tonight's presentation is entitled, Where Does That Tune Come From? And it's about the origins of well-known Jewish songs presented by our very esteemed guest, Charles Heller. Charles, I don't want to embarrass him. I told him right now I'm not going to embarrass him. So maybe cut my face or something. I don't know. Charles, I have to say something because to not say something, I'd be remiss. Charles is a world-renowned composer, conductor of Jewish choral music, and he literally, not figuratively, literally wrote the book on Jewish music. It's called What to Listen For in Jewish Music. It's on sale outside, half price. I didn't want to embarrass you. Anyway, sorry, Charles, if I embarrassed you. Now, on a personal note, pardon the pun, on a personal note, he's my music teacher, and really, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be a cantor today. I was dropping my father off at choir practice. I hadn't been in a choir for maybe 30 years or something like that. And he said to me, I was just dropping my dad off. He said, you, sit down. We need another tenor. What? Do I know you? He says, sit down. You're going to be tenor. So I sat down. I was scared of him. Still a little bit. And he said, good. He goes, now I'm going to teach you how to read music. So after every single Shabbat, he sat down with me after conducting a choir for hours and taught me to sight read, remember? And then he said, you should go for lessons to Cantor David Nevsov, who's sitting at the back. Master Chazan, teaches Chazanim. So thanks to Charles, that's how I got into this wonderful profession. So before we start, I'd just like to ask all of you to not talk during the presentation. Please give your utmost respect and attention to Charles. So ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present to you Charles Heller.
Thank you, Marcel, and good evening, everybody. So what are we going to do about this? I don't know. We'll figure out a way. I'm very happy to be here. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. Maybe I managed without. Maybe.
I think it's the metal.
Can you? Is this better? Yes. The metal we figured out was a metal.
Metal concert.
It's wonderful to be here, and I'm very glad to work with my old chaver Cantor Marcel. And let's get started. So our talk today is called Where Does That Tune Come From? And we're talking about Jewish music. The thing is that in all Jewish tunes, when you listen to Jewish tunes, there are clues in the tune telling you where the tune came from. And also, there'll be a clue telling you how old it is. Maybe the tune was made up a few months ago. Maybe it was made up 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. Some of our tunes are very, very, very old. And some of them were made up last week. And it's fascinating to find out the story of where they came from. And another thing we can do when we listen to tunes, we'll say, well, is it a Jewish tune? After all, what makes it Jewish? Why is it a Jewish tune? Maybe it's not a Jewish tune. Does it matter? That's very interesting questions. That's what we're going to talk about. And so when we're talking about where does that tune come from, we find that over time, our tunes have changed. Just like people and animals in the world, everything in the world changes. We call that evolution. Evolution means things change. I guess you've heard about evolution. We talk about evolution of animals and plants, and we can talk about evolution of music, and I will talk about evolution. And the fun thing is that the way music evolves is the way all things change. And I'm going to have to run around backwards and forwards because I've got my laptop there, so I'll have to, excuse me 1 minute, see if I can figure an easy way of doing it. I won't be doing this all the time. It's just now and again I have a few slides. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, I'm going to play with my laptop. So, this is what I'm going to be talking about. All new tunes. All new tunes. Oh, I'm a bit concerned about this whistling noise. Maybe if you can hear me without this microphone, I'll manage without a microphone. Okay, we'll try again. So,
I'll fix it for you.
all right, Jerry's going to help.
Gain's too high.
So, where the tunes,
It's
where the
actually
tunes come
maxed.
from, I'm going to be talking about some different tunes that you know, and we're going to think about where they come from. Let's get started. First of all, somebody had to think one up. A new tune could come from anywhere. It may be a mistake. A brand new tune, an exciting tune, could be a mistake because somebody heard a tune, and when he went home, he remembered it wrong. So he started singing it wrong. And when he sang it wrong, it sounded like a new tune. So it could be a mistake makes a new tune. Or another way of innovation, another way we get a new song is that someone goes somewhere a long way away and then they come back and say, I heard a beautiful tune. I was once in a shul in Avignon, France. A very historic shul in France. Avignon, where there's the shul of Pont d'Avignon. It's a fantastic shul, very historic community that been there for hundreds of years. And I was in the shul and they sang a beautiful niggun. It's a beautiful niggun. That's what we're talking about, innovation. A new tune. I thought a new tune to me. I said, this is a wonderful tune. Maybe these Jews in Avignon can sing it from the Middle Ages, when their shul come from. All right, we're going to try. Cantor Urko tells me I can try them out. So I was in Avignon and I heard this beautiful tune, and I said to the cantor, where'd you get that beautiful tune? He said, an old tune from the Jews of Avignon from the Middle Ages. He says, no, I was just in the Babbage in New York last week. And I heard it in New York. So you never know. It's good to ask. If I wouldn't have asked, I would think it was a beautiful ancient tune, hundreds of years old. So that's innovation. Somebody goes to New York, then he comes back to Avignon, and he introduces a new tune. So that's where tunes come from. That's our innovation. But the trick is, where it gets really interesting is what happens next. Because now we have a bunch of different tunes, that's why it says variation. We have all different kinds of tunes. But now the third thing down there, it says selection. This is where it gets really, really interesting. Because people like you and me and the cantor and the rabbi, when we hear lots of different tunes each week, some of them we say, I don't like that tune. But another tune, I really do like. So we're selecting it, and then we say the next week, I want to hear that tune again. And I like that tune sticks in my head, but I don't like the other tune. So we all, between us, without making a decision, we don't have a meeting about it, but week by week, people find that certain tunes stick and certain others don't stick. So between the cantor and us, and you and me, as time goes by, we've selected the new tune that we like the best. So we've made a new tune. So I want you to bear in mind that what I'm telling you about selection, because this is how our music changes over the years. And like I said, some of our tunes are 1,000 or more years old, so it's been going a very long time, this selection process. So I'm very interested in selection, and that's what I want you to have in the back of your mind. Now, today I'm going to talk about 3 famous tunes, and they're all tunes that you know very well. But we're going to find some very interesting things about where they came from. So the 3 tunes I picked is first of all a tune we all know, Hatikvah. We all know Hatikvah. The next tune I think you also know. It's HavaNagila. And the other tune, I hope we'll have time, I'm sure we'll have time at the end, we're all going to sing along. The third tune that you should know, I hope you know, if you don't, we'll all know it by the end, is the Yiddish song as DerRebbeElimelech. So these are the songs that we know, but I've picked those because they're great tunes and because the history, how they came to us, is a fantastic story. So I hope you find it interesting. We're going to start with Hatikvah. So, any ideas who thinks they know where the tune of Hatikvah came from? Yeah. Moldau, that's great. So what's the Moldau? Any other ideas? She said the Moldau. Who doesn't know what Moldau? The Moldau, never heard of the Moldau. Good, you're going to find out. What else? What else? Any other bright ideas? All right, that's our only idea so far. All right, it's a good one. Russia, someone says, a good one. All right, so Cantor Jeremiah's got ready. Moldau, I'm glad you said Moldau because I'm ready to talk about it. What's Moldau? Moldau is a German word for a river that's in the middle of Czech Republic. If you go to Czech Republic, they prefer you speak Czech rather than German. So they don't like you saying Moldau. They prefer you say the Czech word, which is Vltava, which is the river going through Prague. It goes all the way through Czech Republic, and then it goes out, and eventually comes out to the North Sea. So the Vltava is the river, but the Germans couldn't say Vltava, so they said Moldau. Moldau is a German attempt to say Vltava. Now, so how does Vltava go? This is the tune. This is music written by a famous Czech composer called Smetana. So let's hear it. It's 30 seconds clip. Here we go. You go ahead. Cantor Berko on the beat on the. Maybe we'll play it again in a second. I'll just tell you what this is all about. This music, this beautiful orchestral music, is called a tone poem. It was written by Smetana. Smetana wasn't Jewish, but he was a Czech composer. He lived in the 19th century. And he wrote this, what's called a tone poem. A tone poem is a description of a scene, something you've got to imagine, in a picture, like a movie. Imagine a movie in your head while you hear the music. So tone poem is a silly name, but it means we want you to think of a story while you hear the music. So what's the story? Can you hear me okay? Yeah. No. So what's the story? The story is Smetana pictured, he wanted to make a picture showing what a beautiful river we got in Czech Republic. This little river, it starts from a little stream, and as it goes through the country, different things happen. It passes castles, so you imagine what history happened on that scene, on that castle, while the river going past it. And then there's a wedding. There's always a wedding. When you go just traveling, when you go on your vacation, you go somewhere, there's always a wedding somewhere. So there's a wedding somewhere. And then there's a hunting party. They hunt animals in the forest. So you hear hunting. And all stuff happens. So this theme is the theme of the river. Let's hear it one more time, because you know it, but it's so beautiful. It's only 30 seconds. So now, that's Hatikvah, sure. The question is, what's Hatikvah doing? Is that where we got the tune of Hatikvah from? So, I have to tell you, I'm telling you now, that's not the answer. That's not the answer. But it's such a good story that I'm telling you this story. The best story I ever heard, so I said to the lady, well, I'm telling you, it's not Hatikvah. Well, maybe I know the answer. As the river Hatikvah goes through the Jewish ghetto in Prague, it picked up the tune of Hatikvah. That's how Hatikvah came into this. Because if you've ever been to Prague, you know it's phenomenal. There's a phenomenal Jewish museum and synagogue. So that was a fantastic theory. That's not the answer. It's completely got nothing to do with it. But the story is fascinating, and it's connected with the real answer, so we will get there. So what's the story? So now, I'll tell you. So imagine you're Smetana, and you have been given a job of writing this beautiful music for the orchestra to play. Someone wants the mic. Okay. Thank you. All right. Good. I'm glad you suggested. Okay, better? But we'll carry on with this. We'll do our best. We'll see what happens. So what I was telling you, in case you didn't hear what I said up to now, we're talking about this piece called Hatikvah and this beautiful music, and we're wondering why it sounds exactly like Hatikvah, when in fact it's got nothing to do with Hatikvah. So let's get rid of this red herring. The way we're going to get rid of this red herring is we're going to put ourselves in the mind of Smetana, who wrote this music. If you're writing a music, you're writing a big piece, it lasts about 20, 30 minutes. You're writing a beautiful piece of music. So you're figuring out, what's the first thing you've got to get very clear in your mind? The first thing is, how's it going to end? You've got to have a good finish. So Smetana thinks, I've got to get clear in my mind how this piece is going to end. And I'm going to end with the beautiful river flowing majestically through Prague, and it's a huge river if you've ever been there. It's magnificent. If you've never been to Prague, it's very beautiful. I mean, there's huge there's restaurants and shores. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to visit. The history is very tragic, like everything, as you know, but at the moment we're doing good. So the question is now, you're Smetana, and you're going to finish the piece.
Stay there, I got you.
So Jeremy is going to press the button because he's good at this. So this is how this Hatikvah finishes. Sounds like our Hatikvah tune. it's a Hatikvah tune, except it's major. Who knows the difference? Who thinks they can hear the difference between major and minor? Who knows major and minor? Come on, some people. Don't be shy. Only 3 people know the difference between major and minor. That's kind of, all right, so we'll see. This is what we call major. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. That's called major. Now, if I change some of the notes, it's called minor. I'll have to start on la. If it's going to be minor, I can't sing do, re, mi. I have to sing la, ti, do, re, mi. All right, you tell me which one sounds more like Hatikvah. This is number 1. And this is number 2. Which one sounded more like Hatikvah?
Second minor.
All right, you were close. It was number 1. Number 1, the minor. That's minor. If you're not sure, we'll get Marcel to do another course on major and minor. That's kind of important to understand. So if you're not quite sure that you haven't got it yet, I'll make it easy. This was Hatikvah is in minor. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, at least you really do know what I'm talking about because it's in your head. You know this is Hatikvah. This is our tune. But we just heard the conclusion. Just play it again. In your mind is that that's a variation of the Hatikvah tune that we heard before. But what I want you to really think is that when Smetana wrote it, this was his main tune, and the Hatikvah is a variation of this. This is the tune he had in mind. Where did he get this from? Next, Jeremy. He got it from here. Now I hope you're not good at major and minor, but maybe you're good at Czech. This is a Czech folk song. So just read with me, please. Kočka leze tyrao pesoknem. I don't hear you. Pesoknem. Nebudeli pršek. What? Pršek. I don't hear very good. Nebudeli pršek nezmoknem. Nebudeli pršek nezmoknem. And the way it goes, this is how the tune goes. This is a Czech folk song. Can you hear me? This is a Czech folk song that Smetana heard children singing, and he said, this is a great tune, this is going to be my tune.
So this is an F major, and you're playing an E.
I'm going to transpose to E. There's very smart of me to All right. Kočka leze tiro pesoknem, pesoknem, da 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 dam dam. That's the tune. Now, this fantastic song that's so profound, that inspired Smetana and has worried us with the Hatikvah and the Hatikvah, this incredible song. What's it mean? It means the cat is in the hole. The dog is in the window. If it doesn't rain, we won't get wet. Okay. Now, that was the red herring. How about I tell you really what happened with Hatikvah? But you'll see that it's kind of connected. Don't completely lose track. We're going to get closer to where Hatikvah really came from. And I'm going to begin with some other tunes that sound a bit like Hatikvah. There's a Russian folk song called Yablachka, a Ukrainian song, I think it's Ukrainian, called Yablachka, it's a little apple. And it's a little bit like Hatikvah, it's a bit of a stretch. It's a folk song, and it goes like this. That tune before. Yeah. It's okay, good, very good, okay. So I think there's a little bit, a hint of Hatikvah. That's a legitimate Russian or Ukrainian folk song. Now here's another song that to me sounds a bit like Hatikvah, and it's a very old tune, and it goes like this. You heard of that one? It's called It's Time. It's Very good. This is a tune dating from the 19th century. It was written by a cantor called Blumenthal out in Russia. So that's a little bit like Hatikvah. Maybe that's where it came from. Now, here's another tune that we know, we don't know exactly how old it is, but we know it was printed in a book in London in 1857, the tune I'm going to show you now. So we know the tune I'm going to show you now was known, very familiar already by 1857. And this is a tune for Hallelujah, in the Hallel. The words are Hallelujah, so it goes like this. Hallelujah, to Hashem kol goyim, shabachu. Never mind, listen to just get the beginning. This is a tune from the Spanish and Portuguese synagogue in London, and it was printed in a book in 1857, so we know it's older than 1857. So bear that in mind. And it's Hallelujah. It comes from Hallel. Hallelujah. This is a Shir Hamalot, which you know. That's a tune by a cantor called Minkowski, and it's Shir Hamalot, and that also dates from the 19th century. What's very interesting is all those tunes, the Jewish tunes, the shul tunes that I've just attempted to say. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice, but what can you do? All the shul tunes I've just played actually have something in common, and that they all have words connected with the return to Zion, going back to Israel. When we sing the words that go Chadish Yomeinu Kekedem, may we have our old days back. That's right, return our days. Let's have our old days back, meaning let's have a Jewish people in a Jewish land. That's the meaning behind it. So there's the theme of return to Zion, and the Hallel, Hallelujah. The theme of Hallel is you have to imagine yourself in the Temple of Jerusalem. So when we say Hallel, we're thinking, why can't we have our temple back? Why aren't we in our own Jerusalem? Well, nowadays we are, but that was only relatively recently. So all these tunes have something in common. So now we're getting closer. So now we found different kind of music that sounds like Hatikvah. But we're getting closer to the story. What happened? Now I'm going to mention somebody comes on the stage. Somebody called Naftali Hertz Imber. He was a poet in the late 19th century. And in 1878, he wrote a poem called Hatikvah. He wrote this poem, and he thought it was a pretty good poem. The poem said, oh, this is very cool. Oh. No, on the floor. Don't worry. Okay. Spoil the wood. No, don't worry. Okay, we have very nice people in the shul who look after me, mentally and physically. It's a great mitzvah.
Thanks, Mark.
Naftali Hertz Imber was a poet, and he wrote a poem called Hatikvah, the hope of the Jews. It has 10 verses, and he was very proud of this poem, and he went around Europe reciting it. And one day he managed to get to a place called Rishon LeZion. In 1882, he was in Rishon LeZion, which is a tiny little place in Israel where the Chaluzah, the refuge that's in there. And the entertainment, the evening entertainment for the few Jews in Rishon LeZion in 1882 was to listen to this visiting Russian poet called Naftali Hertz Imber, who was going to recite his poem. So he read his poem, and everybody said, "What a beautiful poem." So now, who next comes into the story is Shmuel Cohen. Where does Shmuel Cohen come into it? Shmuel Cohen is one of the people sitting in the audience, listening to this poem. And he says, a beautiful poem with 10 verses, but it'd be more beautiful if we sang it. No one thought of singing it. Shmuel Cohen, this Jew, he was a Romanian Jew living in Rishon LeZion, and he had the bright idea, we should sing it. So I said, what's sing it? Make up a tune. So Shmuel Cohen was from Romania. And he said, now, I know a tune. Next professor, next tune. Oh, this one. If you can read. This is music from an old Romanian folk song book. This is a Romanian folk song which Shmuel Cohen had in his head. And he thought, you know what? If we sing this tune, it'll fit Hatikvah. If you can read Romanian, it's called I don't mind, Romanian's not very good. Maybe someone speaks. Anybody speak Romanian here? Yeah. How do you say the title?
How do you say what?
The title, Carol. It's called the wagon and the. Say it again.
The chariot.
The wagon and the ox. Yeah. How do you say it in Romanian, please? How do you say it in Romanian?
Carol Cuboi.
You all heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Carol Cuboi. I couldn't say it. I don't know Romanian. I'm glad we have someone who can tell us. This is a Romanian song, and this is how it goes. Does that sound familiar? Yes. Does that sound like Hatikvah?
Yes, it is.
All right, it is. So now I think we nailed it. I'm going to tell you, you're going to say to me, you're telling me that the beautiful Zionist anthem of the Jewish people is a Romanian song about a wagon and an ox? Well, it is. But the question is, how can it be? How can it be that that this came about? Well, remember I said evolution at the beginning. I said we're going to talk about evolution and selection. The story is that the reason it worked as Hatikvah is because of this tune, this Romanian tune. I'm going to use the word pre-adaptation. It was the Romanians had this tune, but buried in this tune, it's waiting. If we're going to be Kabbalistic, you say, is waiting to become a Jewish tune, is waiting to be sung by the Jewish people. The technical word I've used is pre-adaptation. And that's a good evolutionary word. If you study animals and things like that, you find that it exists in animals as well. They do some pre-adaptation as well. This was a Romanian tune that was waiting to become picked up by the Jewish people and become a Hatikvah. It wasn't Jewish to start with. It was a Romanian song. And Shmuel Cohen happened to know this tune, and he was the one guy, the genius, who figured this out, who did the job, who fit it together. So this tune isn't Jewish, but in a Jewish environment, it works as a Jewish tune. So this leads us to our famous question, what makes a tune Jewish? In this case, the answer is, it's not where the tune came from, but what we use it for, the function of this tune. What makes this tune Jewish is the Jewish purpose we give it. But if you're putting on a concert, supposing Cantor Marcel wants to put on a concert of Jewish music, and we want to sing all kinds of Jewish music by Jewish composers, you will have to have a different definition of Jewish music. You're going to say Jewish music is whatever Jews compose. So you can put on a concert, you say, oh, there's a beautiful Jewish composer from Russia, his name is Yisrael Berlin. Yisrael Berlin came out with a beautiful tune which we should have in our concert. And it goes like this. I love that. That's a beautiful Jewish tune. That's Jewish music because it was written by a Jewish composer. So if you're going to have Irving Berlin, ladies and gentlemen, the guy who wrote White Christmas, Yisrael Berlin, when he went to America, he changed his name to Irving Berlin, and he wrote millions of beautiful tunes, and they're all Jewish. If you put on a concert of music by Jewish composers, you put on Irving Berlin. Done. There's Jewish music. So you see, the answer to the famous question, what is Jewish music? The answer is, it depends. It depends who's asking. Who wants to know? There used to be a guy in the shul, if I ask him something, he says, who wants to know? So I think that's the answer. If you want to know what is Jewish music, the answer is, who wants to know? If you're a concert organizer, Jewish music is music written by Jewish people. Otherwise, it's music that's put to a Jewish purpose. So now, I have a very complicated chart, which I'll go through very quickly. Next one. This looks very complicated, but if you can follow this one round, we started off, remember, we had Multava. I wonder if I can use I'll be very quick with this one. If you can't hear me, don't worry, it won't be that very long. We started off with Multava, the Moldau, and we had the Diabolic, and then we also had Cart and Oxen. These are all the tune we just had, the Romanian tune, Cart and Oxen. These are what we call precursors. They were old tunes from East Europe. But we also have some Jewish precursors like Eis Chaim Hi. And it so happens that they all have a Zionist theme. But now, Shmuel Cohen had the one idea of taking the Cart and Oxen and fitting it to the Hatikvah poem. And why did it become the anthem? Why did all the millions of people accept it? So far, down here, Shmuel Cohen is the only person who thought of it. But now, his idea was picked up by all the other 12 million Jews. They all disagreed with him. Why? Because of this pre-adaptation. They were waiting for a tune that fitted their idea of what music to do with designers and so on sounded like. So they had all these things in their mind. And it all got fitted together. So we don't have to worry about it. Go back to...
Which one?
Leave that. So we'll leave that up for now, because that's what I'm talking about. So I think we've finished with Hatikvah. All right, we've done Hatikvah, ladies and gentlemen. Good. That was the first part. End of round one.
what?
That's a very good point. Hatikvah, maybe we could talk later for questions, but to answer your question very quickly,
All right, the lady said, how did it actually become an anthem? It was actually had to be agreed by the Israeli government. Like the Canadian anthem, if you're a country and you have an anthem, it has to be agreed by a government. It's a very serious job of deciding what the anthem. You know, the Canadian government is forever arguing and debating how to change one or two words here and there. The same debate is in Hatikvah. A lot of people in Israel don't like the words of Hatikvah. They want to change some of the words, not all of it. The words of Hatikvah that we have today is not what Imber wrote in the first place. They've all been changed 20, 30 times. So if someone was to change the words of Hatikvah, if the Israeli government was to change the words of Hatikvah, it would just be another change to the words. But that's a government decision. So where I showed you that chart, the Jewish people thought Shmuel Cohen's idea was a great idea and they all sang it. But, and then eventually the Israeli government made an official decision that that would be the anthem. So that's a very good question. So now I'm going to proceed. The next song I'm going to talk about, that was my longest kind of thing, so don't worry, you're not going to be here all night.